Have you ever gone to bed thinking, I should have done more today? What if that feeling has less to do with your to-do list and more to do with what you're quietly trying to earn? Today, we're talking about the small moments that reveal whether we're living from not enough or from the truth that we already are. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nourished Life for Christian Women. I don't think on most mornings that we wake up thinking, today I'm going to spend the day trying to prove my worth. It usually isn't that obvious. Instead, it looks responsible. It looks like conscientiousness. It looks like caring. It looks like trying to do a good job. And because of that, we rarely stop to ask ourselves what's really driving us. But I've been noticing these little moments throughout the day. I call them worth checking moments. They're those quiet moments when something inside me starts asking, am I enough? Not in so many words, but in behavior. And I've started to ask myself one simple question whenever I notice one. What am I trying to earn right now? The answers have been surprisingly revealing. I'm going to share a few stories. First one of the moments this often comes is in the evening. Maybe you've had days like this. I've worked, recorded a podcast, answered emails, taken a walk, done laundry, gotten dinner ready. Objectively, it's been a good day. But then the evening comes and I sit down to relax, and almost immediately another thought sneaks in. There's still more time. I could use it productively. Have you ever noticed that? Tell me I'm not the only one. Because not anything urgent needs to be done, but just because somehow sitting still starts to feel undeserved. I've learned to pause when that thought comes. And instead of automatically getting back up and getting to work, I ask myself, what am I trying to earn right now? Am I trying to earn the right to rest? Am I trying to earn the feeling that today counted? Am I trying to convince myself that I did enough to justify simply being? Sometimes the answer is yes. And just asking that question changes something. Because if my worth isn't earned, then maybe my rest doesn't have to be earned either. Story number two. Maybe you can relate. When people used to come over, I'd rush around trying to make sure everything looked perfect. And then just to make sure no one thought that I actually lived the way that my house was looking. And I'd apologize. I'm sorry, the house is such a mess. Hopefully that doesn't sound familiar, but maybe it does. These days, our home looks lived in. There might be dishes on the counter. There might be boxes sitting on the bench by the front door. Life is happening here. Most of the time, I'm genuinely okay with that now. But every once in a while, still, someone will ring the doorbell or knock at the back door, and I notice the dishes or I notice the boxes as I walk past them. And I almost hear that old voice whisper, you should explain this. You should apologize. It's amazing how quickly those old habits can resurface. So again, I ask myself, what am I trying to earn? Am I trying to earn their approval? Am I trying to earn the appearance of having everything together? Am I trying to earn permission to welcome someone into my imperfect life? But then I remember something. The people I love don't come to inspect my countertops. They come to spend time together. And I'd much rather they remembered how they felt and that they felt welcome in my home than whether every dish was done and put away. And another story. This one has been especially humbling because serving is a beautiful thing. And I've had many opportunities to serve throughout the year at church and in other places. And Jesus teaches us to serve. So this isn't about serving less. It's about paying attention to why I'm saying yes. There have been times when another opportunity came along, another committee, another assignment, another person who needed dinner brought to them. And before I even really considered it or prayed about it, my instinct was, of course I should do that. But when I got quiet enough to ask, what am I trying to earn? Sometimes the answer surprised me. Not always, but sometimes. Maybe I was trying to earn approval. I wanted that family to like me for bringing them dinner. I wanted to feel needed, so I served on that committee. I wanted the reassurance that I was doing enough for God because He's given me everything. The beautiful thing is that God doesn't ask me to prove my love by exhausting myself. He invites me to love Him with my whole heart and to serve from a full heart. There's a difference. Serving from fullness feels joyful. Serving to earn something eventually becomes really heavy. It's when we can start to get resentful. It's when we can start to not want to do it anymore, but doing it anyway. This fourth story is one of my favorite lessons came to me from one of my college roommates. And when it was super simple, she complimented me one day, and I honestly don't even remember what she said. What I do remember is my response. And it was something like, well, yeah, but, and I immediately started explaining why she was wrong, why it wasn't really true, and why it wasn't that big of a deal. She just looked at me and shook her head and said, didn't your mother ever teach you how to accept a compliment? And then smiled and said, just say thank you. That's enough. I've never forgotten that. It sounds so simple, but receiving can be surprisingly difficult, and accepting a compliment can feel uncomfortable. Why? Because maybe if we've quietly believed that we're not enough, that compliment creates tension. They don't match the story we're telling ourselves. But if we know our worth isn't something that we have to defend or minimize, then we can simply smile and say, thank you. No explanation, no self depreciating joke, no, yeah, but just gratitude. So if we're ever in person and give me a compliment and you see me kind of stop and smile before I answer, it's because the first thing coming to my head is still some form of a yeah, but, and I'm just remembering my roommate's voice saying, just say thank you. And so I will smile to you and say, thank you. And thank you, Stacy, for teaching me that. I realized something that every one of these stories looks different. One's about productivity, one's about appearances, one's about serving, one's about receiving. But underneath all of them, the question is exactly the same. What am I trying to earn? Because if I'm trying to earn peace, approval, love, acceptance, or enoughness, I'm chasing something God has already given me. Living from enough doesn't necessarily change what we do, it changes where we're living from when we do it. So things may not look very different from the outside, but from the inside, they'll feel different. Two women can both work hard, serve faithfully, keep a welcoming home, or graciously accept a compliment. The outward behavior may look almost identical, but the difference is that one is quietly trying to earn her worth, which she doesn't need to be doing. Spoiler alert. While the other is simply expressing the worth she already knows she has as a beloved daughter of God. The distinction is subtle, but it changes everything. If the stories this episode hit, get a hold of me. Set up a call, send an email. The info is in the episode description. And until then, remember, around here, eating is peaceful, moving is joyful, and your worth is never up for debate. See you next week. If today's episode or any other has resonated with you, I wanted you to know that I offer a free 30-minute call. If you'd like to schedule that, you can find the details for how to do that in the description for this episode. And in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe.